Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Finance with Parks. In today's episode, we are going to talk about an article I read today on Warren Buffett. The billionaire turns 90 years old today. He's worth $79 billion, and CNBC wrote a really interesting article about 6 things that we can learn from one of the number one investors in the world. So if you don't know how Warren Buffett made his money, he's not the founder of Apple. What he was one of the most successful people ever at picking which of those companies would last over the long term. So let's get into the article and discuss the 6 things that CNBC highlighted. So one item before we get started that I'm sure Warren left off as an oversight is to like and subscribe to the channel if you're liking the content. We're posting videos every Sunday and Tuesday, and we appreciate y'all following along. All right, number 1, think long term. He had a funny quote in the article that said nobody buys farmland based on whether they think it's going to rain or not next year. And it really is a good comparison to investing, because you shouldn't be buying farmland on the one chance that it doesn't rain next year. That's not what you're investing in farmland for. You're trying to pick the best land for an extended period of time that can make you money over the next 15 to 20 years. And that's the same mental approach you should have with buying companies. He went on to say that if you don't feel comfortable owning something for 10 years, then you shouldn't own it for 10 minutes even. You know, 2 of his biggest plays that he's held since 1979, I think the article said, maybe 1980, were See's Candy and Coca-Cola. And he was able to see the long-term play of both soda and candy. They may not have been the hottest trend at the time, but he saw them as they had staying power to remain in the market for an extended period. All right, number 2, stay the course. So this one is really important because investing can be stressful. The market goes down sometimes, and it can go down substantially, like we saw in 2008. He probably has, the most experience to be able to speak on something like this. At turning 90 years old, he's seen a lot of ups and downs in the market. And one of his biggest advice is to have a level head, to stay the course, and to not panic when everyone else is panicking. All right, number 3 I thought was kind of interesting, but it makes sense after thinking about it, is marry the right person. Picking a spouse has a huge influence on your life, whether that be guiding life decisions, your aspirations, encouraging you to follow your dreams. Marrying the right person really does have a huge impact on how successful one can be in business. He goes on to say that you want to associate yourself with people you want to be, and there's no one more influential than your life outside of your parents than your spouse. All right, so let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is to invest in index funds. We mentioned at the beginning about his success investing in individual companies, but he goes on to highlight how easy investing in index funds has become. He recommends investing in index funds because 1, it is a great way to balance your risk. You aren't just purchasing one company, you're buying a group of companies, so just inherently, a lot of your downside risk is mitigated by buying index funds. It also helps substantially with the ups and downs and the volatility that you see in normal individual stocks. I've talked before on previous videos of just investing in the S&P 500. Essentially, that is an index fund that takes the 500 biggest companies in the US, and your success depends on the success of all of those 500 combined. 9 times out of 10, that is going to be so much of a better bet than trying to pick the one company that makes it big. Now, Warren Buffett did have success with those individual companies, like we mentioned. However, from a top level, I'm sure his portfolio now has a ton of index funds. All right, his tip number 5 was to invest in yourself. So this one is kind of a cliche, but I did like what he added on. The first one was to learn to communicate better in both writing and in speech. That one is huge, especially in person, whether it be public speaking. One of the reasons I started this channel was I felt like, especially during quarantine, I wasn't able to talk face-to-face with people, and just trying to continue my public speaking skills. Talking in front of a camera is a lot harder than it looks. So investing in yourself, trying to improve your capabilities, improve your skills, reading a lot of books. And he goes on to say that this should include taking care of your body and your mind. And number 6, I think it's a little ironic because it is, remember that money isn't everything. Well, that's obviously a little easier to say when you're worth $79 billion, but Not gonna spite him for that one. I get what he's saying. He goes on to talk about giving back, and he does do a lot of philanthropic efforts. His house is not the biggest castle on planet Earth. He still lives in Omaha, Nebraska. He is a very humble, down-to-earth guy. And for me, it's not necessarily remembering that money isn't everything. It's more so making sure that, one, you have a family life. I think keeping that important, making sure money doesn't take over those other things in your life is important. Just remembering where you came from and trying to give at least some of that back to the community. All right, so that's all I had for the video. 6 tips from Warren Buffett that I think everyone can benefit from. Turning 90 years old is crazy. I mean, he's still in really good shape for his age, still is the head of Berkshire Hathaway, which is the name of his company. I mean, the man has obviously been extremely successful, knows a ton about investing, and found a way that, although he wasn't the creator of these big companies, he knew which ones to pick at the right time. He was able to think through logically, okay, here's where I see this company going. Here's where the market stands now. I think they can be successful for the next 10 to 20 years. So with that, if you're enjoying the content, if you could like and subscribe the video, that would be awesome. We're posting videos every Sunday and Tuesday to help people understand business better, understand their personal finances. So we appreciate y'all following along, and we'll talk to you again soon.